Hola y bienvenidos a la Daily Hustle Special Edition with world-renowned pickleball player Connor Garnett. Connor, nowhere to be found right now at the moment, but I think there's a chance we're going to get him in the knock room. So here we go, having a little bit of a technical issue. He does not have a camera on his computer, which is interesting. In the meantime, we can get a little stats wrap. Yes!
We made it.
This is incredible, man. How are you?
Doing well, just stoked to be on. We persevered through some technical difficulties and pumped to be here with you.
I had a lot of faith in you. All right, do me a favor. Turn the phone sideways if you can.
Yep.
So we can make sure we dial in the proper setup. Do you see the above Daily Hustle banner with your backhand flowing right there? It looks like a one-handed backhand right there.
Yeah, that looks pretty silky. That was a great picture you guys snagged there.
It's been fun, dude, because obviously we don't do a lot of pickleball here on No Filter Network. But ideally, dude, we get you on here and start creating some more pickleball content and having some good conversations. So, look, man, let's start with your journey. I mean, how the fuck does one get to be a professional pickleball player?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's kind of heard about the sport in the last couple of years. So the first thing is luck. You had to be in the right place at the right time. There were some tennis players that have been playing for a while that kind of missed the window, and I was fortunate enough to graduate college and was working and stumbled into pickleball and figured out, hey, I wasn't too bad at it, and kind of milked that as long as I could. Had the regular job. I was doing investment banking, would go out, play some pickleball when I had my limited free time. And once I got to a point where I could do it full time and the sport was growing in tandem with that, it kind of worked out perfectly. So about a year and a half ago was really when I started diving into pickleball, and it's just been crazy. Everyone's been in it and it's just blown up, which is gnarly.
So you grew up playing tennis in Seattle, correct?
Yes, grew up tennis. First sport was baseball. Wasn't too good at it, but there is that connection there. My dad taught me to bat left-handed, and so that's kind of leaned into all of my left side of my body skills in all the racket sports.
So from Seattle, you then went to Santa Clara?
Yeah, Seattle, Santa Clara, did 4 years of college tennis at Santa Clara, then went to University of Nottingham in England, did a year of tennis there, got a master's in finance, and it was really just an excuse to do one more year of tennis. From there, COVID hit, went back to Seattle for a couple months, was playing tennis, stumbled into an investment banking job for a couple years, and while I was there, I had been a hitting partner at the US Open for tennis, and one of the girls there, she played a ton of pickleball, and we played one time and kind of got hooked from there.
How easy is the transition from tennis to pickleball?
The fundamental skills are similar with the mechanics of the strokes. Everything in pickleball is smaller. The dinking and some of the fast hands and fast twitch is a little bit different than tennis. So I would say the easiest sport to transition over is from tennis, but you also see some of the tennis players that have tried to come in with a little bit of overconfidence that haven't succeeded. So it is definitely a different skill set, but tennis, especially singles pickleball, is the most one-to-one comparison.
So, look, I have a unique background, and that I grew up. My dad was a 4-3 black belt, Kempo karate. I played tennis at a pretty competitive level up until 12, but obviously 12 years old is, it's way too young to say I had any sort of like lifelong skills that were going to stay with me and whatever else, because between 12 and, I don't know, 40, I'm not even sure if I picked up a racket. There was one time when I played my college girlfriend's father, who was like a 5-0 and wanted a piece. So I went out there and just was respectable, played smart, and he ended up he ended up taking to me in a relatively competitive game, but then obviously played professional baseball for a long time. And I would say probably of all the sports, baseball from a skill perspective, when it comes to quick twitch reflexes, would be right up there with anything else. I do know some baseball players who play pickleball. I know guys that have become obsessed with it. Obviously, I don't think there's any. Maybe Jeff Conine plays like senior tour stuff, but there hasn't. It's like these baseball players are going from the minor leagues to professional pickleball. At least not that I know of. I'm trying to think. Are there any other sports you could think of, Connor, that would have this sort of transition? Maybe ping pong.
Ping
Obviously.
pong, racquetball are like a little bit more one to one. I'll throw a wild one out there that's kind of on the same vein as like baseball a little bit, but Formula One, just because of the quick reaction time, like where you have these like fast, like a baseball coming at you, you have to react so quickly. Formula One's probably the quickest reaction time of any sport. And so that is one of the things where pickleball marries kind of the kinetic chain aspects of a baseball, of a tennis with that hand speed. So that could be another crazy one.
So obviously the game's exploded. I mean, to the point where it's taken over my life. It's taken over so many other people's lives that, they're rec players, but, they've fallen in love with it. But I also got to believe that at the professional ranks, you're starting to see some newer guys that are emerging onto the scene just because of the popularity. Have you noticed a difference in the past couple of years?
Yeah, it's been insane. I got in, I want to say my first tournament was September 2 years ago, so September of 22. And I was maybe had played singles 5 times, and there were some guys in the pro division that I just destroyed. And you look at now, if I was to do what I did 2 years ago, I'd be laughed out of off the court with it. It's just the level's gone up tenfold. All these guys come in from different sports. It's cool to see. I feel like 3 months, the game takes a huge leap forward. And it's even like you can even see it with those 5-0 players that would enter into the pro ranks, and now they're not really going in as much. And so the pro scene's being built out, and in a year, you're really going to see that difference between what a pro pickleball player is and some of those rec players. And if you're not fully committed to training every day, you're going to be left behind.
What is the biggest difference between a 5-0 player and a legitimate professional that would be able to compete on the PPA tour?
In doubles, I would say getting into the kitchen and not letting your opponent get to the kitchen. That's a huge thing where in a match scenario, when you're playing against another team, having the mental strength and the technical skill to get up and get into the point. That's the biggest thing. People can have fast hands. They're born with fast hands. You can do well in a firefight, but that level of confidence to get up there is huge.
I think I could firefight with anybody.
I agree. I mean, there were some sick points. I know you threw up a few where we had some hands battles, and that's the cool thing about pickle too, is like you get players that come in with not a lot of background or haven't been playing a while, and they can go mano-a-mano with a pro for a little bit in the hands battle, and they're like, shit, like this is awesome. Like this sport isn't that hard. And so you can have these epic moments like that, but it's that kitchen arrival and pushing them back that's really the separator.
Well, so this is something interesting, and I wanted to bring this up because, don't get me wrong, I'm not naive, and you eventually destroyed me in every game that we played, but the consistency of your game, like having an opportunity to, number one, I took 2 different clinics with Connor. I did a singles clinic, I did a doubles clinic. If you have an opportunity along the way, ConnorGarnett.com is, I believe that's where you have, the list of clinics you have coming up, all the merch and everything else. But it was tremendously helpful for my game. And then, we're so fortunate to be able to play, afterwards. And I think it was that Monday that we played, probably ended up like 3-4 hours out there. I can't believe the ability to not miss shots. Like I think that's the biggest difference that I've seen. I know we have a few 5-0 plus players here that they're really good, but they still will miss a couple shots a game.
Yeah.
And Connor, I was looking at these stats from this past weekend in Orange County, and they were showing, like the mixed doubles final stats, the men's doubles final stats, and everything else. I mean, here I'm gonna share a couple of these with you, and I just want to get your thoughts. Dinks into the net, unstressed regular dinks, not sped up blocks, etc. So this is Waters and Johns, and it's Alshon and how do I say her name? Parenta.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's Parenta John. Each of them, I want you to try to guess how many dinks did they each have into the net over the course of their finals matchup?
Yeah, I mean, I would guess 5 from Alshon and Parento, and maybe 2 from Annalie and Ben.
1, 1, 1, and 1. All of them had 1.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, it's those little things. It's being able to do that. That's even much more impressive than I thought. And that's a 3 out of 5 games too. So that's even more pickle. That's wild.
All right, so here's some other fun ones for you. Clean winners. This one shocked me a little bit, but then again, I don't think I've watched Annalie, play that much. This is no net cord, no opponent's paddle. Annalie Waters, 8. Johns, 7. How do I say her name again?
Parento.
0. And Alshon, 6. What do you take from those numbers?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting with mixed because the guy is looking to usually get his forehand in the middle and kind of lean in. And so I watched that match a little bit, and Annalie had a few nice behind Alshon shots. So it doesn't surprise me that she was able to have the most clean winners. I would say an interesting stat would be forcing errors. I would almost expect, and I geek out on numbers, so that's super interesting. But in mixed, I would imagine the woman player, if she's having a good day and has offense, would have slightly more clean winners because of misdirection behind the male player on the opposing side. And then the male player to have more forcing winners where someone might touch the ball. Yeah. But yeah, I would say Annalie and Ben's kind of split there. I would have even expected it to be more lopsided to Annalie with how she was playing in that match.
They have highlight reel numbers here. Annalie Waters with 1 ATP.
Okay.
Johns with 1 ATP, 1 Ernie, and 1 Ernie defended.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, Annalie had a sick ATP in the match. I didn't watch all of it, but she smoked one with her forehand. Ben is just going to be rock solid and steady out there, and Alshon and Parento were coming in hot. Christian cracks the ball. Parento's more strategic and calculated. So that's that probably tracks with what I would expect from that matchup and how each of those guys play.
Yeah, Parento 1 ATP defended, Alshon 2 ATPs and 1 Ernie. Offensive lobs, and this is a real interesting one here. 0 from either.
Interesting. I mean, I would say if you're the team that's winning, and I forget the exact set scores, but I remember it was pretty, I want to say 3-0, Waters and Johns. And so I would expect them not to necessarily look for that offensive lob unless they really needed it. But if you are losing, and I'm going to say this, and I'm sure someone out there is going to laugh at me because they're like, Connor, you don't do this. But what I should do, and what everyone should do, is if you are losing, to then look for those other opportunities to do an offensive lob. So I'm a little surprised that Christian and Catherine didn't throw in any offensive lobs in there.
Yeah, just to mix it up. And I mean, the obvious strategy there is to try to get them off the net. If you could just get the lob in, now you're in pole position, correct?
Yeah. I mean, I guess the question there, and just curious your thoughts on this, but in baseball, is there something similar where, let's say you're a pitcher or a batter and you've either struck out like 3 times, or the last couple guys have been hitting off you. Is there some of that thought process where it's like kind of that offensive lob where it's like throwing something different in the mix, or is that a one-to-one comparison there at all?
You know what, dude, Connor, I think, and this is for pickleball, this is for baseball, this is for life in general, but the whole definition of insanity is, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Yeah.
So I got to believe that, I know when I get into grinds in pickleball matches, whatever it is, if something's not working other than me just making unforced errors, because it's tough to get a read off of that. But if I have a game plan and we go into it and it's, let's slow it down, as opposed to speed it up. And those are some other numbers I was looking at, from these matches. It looks like about, and this is from all of them, about 60% of the time, to 65%, people are dropping, with 35 to 40%, they're driving on the third shot. What are your thoughts, and how do you approach that?
Yeah, that's a fun question. There's definitely, from the tennis background, a drive is a more comfortable shot. And so sometimes hitting a drive to set up the drop is more advantageous. But at the end of the day, it's how do you get up to the kitchen? It doesn't need to look good, but if you can set yourself up to hit an easy drop, and at the higher level, I've been really focused on kind of seeing what other people do on their drop to make it consistent. But the drop is definitely the way to get up to that kitchen. Whether it takes one shot or two shots to do it, it makes total sense that it's a 60% drop to drive ratio, and on probably fifth balls, so serve, return, hit the drop or the drive, and then it comes back again. That fifth ball, I imagine, is even a higher drop percentage there, just because that's the way to get up to the kitchen.
If I drive the third, I'm dropping the fifth, right?
Yeah.
And if I drop the third and I have a chance to drive the fifth and I see any kind of opening, I usually try the problem with the drives, though, and you obviously know this way better than I do. Against a good player, they're fucking useless. And a lot of times, and I've noticed this recently, if you leave it up at all, they're going to counter you and the point's over.
Yeah, really the drive is, if you can see them, either they're slow to get in or you can keep that drive low, regardless of the pace, then it just sets up an easier next ball. But I mean, and maybe unwinding the stack, you could hit a winner or a forced error off it, but it's never going to win you the point outright with a drive. It's always, what's that going to get you on the next ball?
We have our first question from the audience. It comes courtesy of Hank. He says, Connor, I'm a fair weather pickleball player, average at best. Could I score a single point against you?
Well, the tough thing with pickle is it's volleyball scoring to a sense. So in singles, if you can drive a ball, maybe you could get a side out, but getting a point, that'd be a tall order, I would say.
I've noticed that, because it is so damn hard to, get the serve, right? So if you side it out, you get the serve. And then if I play somebody of your caliber, even just 5-0 plus, and say it's a singles, for example, even doubles, but say singles, and even if I hit a good serve, my good serve isn't what you're used to seeing, so it's a shitty serve, even if I think it's a good serve. And then you're pounding this back, in the other backhand corner, and I'm sprinting over there trying to save my life with a left or something, putting it up in the air, and you're slamming it home. I have some good videos of that too.
Yeah, and I would say doubles is even that much tougher. Like doubles, not really a chance, but singles is where, just because it is one person on a bigger court, where doubles, it's you see the hand speed, you see the pattern recognition, and that's where the separation is even more from those people that are kind of newer to the sport or not playing as much as a pro or some of those pickleball junkies.
Yeah, I mean, one miss hit, I guess, if you happen to, that's pretty much it, though. I mean, other than that, it just doesn't happen. It's funny because they say to be a good pickleball player, you need to play with people your level. You need to play with people well above your level. And they also say you need to play with people below your level. Have you noticed there's certain things that you're able to work on or do when you play with somebody like me or somebody obviously well below your level?
Yeah, oh, for sure. I mean, I would say just like perfect example is even like anyone that's playing that is usually coming at me a little bit if they're below my level. So it's one, being very strategic so I am not giving up that one unforced error where they feel like they can kind of get the upper hand on me. So there's that. I would say just in any sport, same with tennis, I would try and play with people below my level because you're expected to win. So there are nerves in that sense. Playing with people above your level when you're starting out is important so you can see what that next tier is of like, okay, these are the things I need to do to get to that level. And then people at your level, those are the ones where that's where you really work on the mental side of like, hey, it's going to be a good match, but let me come away here with the win and really work on being clutch in those big points. So yeah, having that mentally is super key in most sports. I feel like just to handle that because the mental side in anything is more important than the physical.
So I watched you play in Sacramento at the PPA event, and
Mm-hmm.
you guys were, let's say, like, I want to explain to everyone in the audience the setup there. They had, let's call it like a B court. It was kind of hidden that was off of the main court. And then you had the main court with the stands and everything. But the B court had some stands and some other things going on. And then on the other side, I think it was like A1 or whatever they called it, but it was right there. And usually you would have a good game. I was fortunate enough. I actually got to play on a killer singles match on the A court right there. And, it's just obviously my family and friends and maybe a few onlookers. But we had a bad, I went up like a big early. I want to say like 9-1 or something. The guy fucking came back like 9-9. Then we battled it out I ended up with a 15-13 win. But I know that feeling of like, whoa, shit, man. Like, you have the audience watching. Well, one of the most fascinating things to me was that you played on the second one over in, a court that it's like really hard to even kind of see. And to be totally transparent, dude, and I'm not just saying this because you're on the Daily Hustle and here you are. And, I got to do the camp and everything. It was one of the fucking best pickleball games, if not the best pickleball game I ever have seen in my entire life. And it sure as shit was the most intense. Tell me about that matchup.
Yeah, that one was a wild one. It was round of 16 in that. I was playing with Tyler Loong. We won the first set, up 10-8 in the second, ended up losing the second game, and so it went to a deciding game. And it started getting a little chirpy. Like there was some back and forth. Everyone was getting intense. Everyone really wanted to win it. And so they're up 10-8. We had missed a few. They're cheering. We had probably the behind the court, there was kind of like a fence, but you could kind of peer over. So there are all these people watching, cheering, and 10-8, everyone's losing their mind. We had awesome fans for it and got it to 10-all off a few like key points. There was on their match point at 10-8, I normally am known for my two-handed backhand, the tui, and I have a forehand middle, pull it as hard as I can, win the point. We chest bump, lose our minds, and just roll in. Tyler played awesome, and just like I'm normally pretty composed, but when you see me on the court, you'll see like just like some cheering. Tyler got after it, and it was just electric. And I'll still like feel the chills a little bit from those close matches like that where you just are fighting out there. Everyone wants to win, and it was epic.
So it literally was like people were climbing the fence because I was behind like 3 people, like doing this to see. And then the guys behind the fence, I couldn't tell you who they were. Definitely pro players, though. And this is what I think is so cool about the PPA Tour is that, here I am, like an amateur, just, I'm in the mixer and then watching you guys. You guys are up, you're all there and up close and doing it. And, bro, these guys were back behind. And I don't know if they were, obviously they were super tight or buddies, but they're fucking giving them advice. They're like, yo, dude, don't hit it to Connor's back. Hey, like hit it here, attack here, get that and they kept at it. And I was fascinated by that element of things. Dude, so Tyler, your partner,
Mm-hmm.
this guy, is he a fucking maniac?
He's a beast. He's been in pickle forever and just knows the game super well. Very calculated. Has his shot is the Ernie where he jumps the kitchen. He's got super long arms and he just smacks the living daylights out of that ball. And he had a few clutch ones there at the end. But yeah, he's jacked. He's ready for war and an absolute beast on the court.
Well, see, that's the thing. Because a couple weeks later, it's like, we're back here playing and things got intense, and they were intense in kind of a fun way, and we were talking shit. And then, someone was kind of like, it's like not classy. Pros would never do that. I'm like, wait, pros would never do it. Like, I just watched them do it. Like, they were talking, you guys, every single point, it was chirping. I forget what the phrase was that, they had said something and then you guys were mocking them. And
Yeah,
at least
yeah. So yeah,
you were keeping the peace.
yeah. I mean, I think there's like a balance. I think everyone has a different amount, but they said something. Tyler missed a shot, and they went like, "Oh no" or something, and so then one of them they missed a shot, and then Tyler was like, "Oh no," and so it's like finding that balance. I won't go that far, but like on a big point, like letting out a come on, getting pumped, letting everyone know that you won that point. I think is you got to get fiery out there if you're not trying to win in any other sport. I mean, look at basketball. They're saying some crazy stuff to each other, and pickleball is nothing like that. So when a few of those things happen, it's good for the sport.
How much more intense is it, if it is at all, pickleball compared to tennis? Because I watch tennis and I know I played tennis. Like the intimacy, the guy's far away,
Yeah,
right? Like pickleball, it's you're
it's so
there, man.
personal.
I mean, everyone's right there.
Yeah, no, I mean tennis is more like it's your game. It's like more melodic, for lack of a better word, where it's like you're hitting your shots. You want to feel good out there. You can get pumped in like a little bit, but pickleball, it's you're so close. It's like gritty. There's some points where they miss in the net. Like there's some stare downs. Like it's a lot more personal, which for sure adds to the excitement.
Dylan Frazier takes over
Takes
as the
over number one.
world's number one ranked men's doubles player. Him and J.W. Johnson defeated Hayden Patriquin and Pablo Tellez 11-7, 11-7, 11-6. So this is the first time, I don't know, it feels like ever, that somebody else besides Ben Johns is ranked as the number one doubles player. How good is Dylan Frazier?
Dylan's a beast. Dylan is one of the best right siders in the game. You just can't attack him. He's got hardly any holes, super fast hands. Him and J Dub have been playing together a while. They've had a lot of really good results, and they've proven that they've won maybe three out of the last four, I want to say, tournaments. So they've been playing really well and definitely earned that. And definitely don't sleep on J Dub because those two together are a force to be reckoned with.
Their overall record, Connor, is 131 and 24. They've had 10 career titles. They've had 5 this year. I mean, that's sounding like dominance. Now, when it comes to doubles, what the number one, like, what do you look for in a partner? Do you play with the same guy over and over, or are you mixing partners? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, doubles, the best teams play with the same partner. You got to know what your partner's doing out there. The newer players to the sport sometimes will bounce around a little bit. I've been bouncing around a little bit, been playing a decent chunk with Alshon, but it definitely bodes well if you can find those players that you feel really comfortable with. And half of it is that chemistry. And I mean, J Dub and Dylan started playing at the beginning of last year together. And so they really started hitting their stride like 7 months in, I want to say. and it's not surprising that they are having some really good results.
They're saying that, and I read an article. I'm such a geek, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I would have read this article anyway without coming on here, but I read this article basically saying that one of the reasons that they're so good is that one of them plays the left side and one of them plays the right side, and they really have a good feel of the synergies between the two. And just because the guy playing the right side, well, actually, I think it's Frazier, who plays the right side, he is now getting more aggressive towards the middle, and it's not like he's tucked back into a corner. Is there something to that?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, definitely having specific sides is key. Where you're sliding on different sides depends, because a cross-court shot will go out, and so you need to know exactly what you're going to leave. And typically in pickleball, the right side player, whether it's in mixed, whether it's in gender doubles, is seen as kind of the beta role, in a sense where you're going to kind of default to that left side player. But there's a lot of good teams now where that right side player is taking over, going in, reaching in, attacking, and really creating. And so finding kind of that style where J-Dub's hands are so fast, but he won't move as much, allows Dylan to come in and be aggressive. So those synergies of knowing your partner allows kind of those traditional pickleball thoughts to kind of be rewritten, and you're seeing a lot of right side guys taking over the game, which is exciting.
Would you consider yourself a left side player?
So that's honestly, and being a little newer to the sport, I've probably played 80% of my time on the left side, but I've started to play a little bit more straight up and situation dependent. And so the beauty of when I play with Christian is we'll both play both sides and we both are able to. And so sometimes we'll change it up based on matchup, where who we want in front of us. And that's kind of with it being rewritten, both of us can kind of hop into those different sides and play different roles. But that's a long-winded way of saying I have no idea what side I'm on. I'm on whatever side it takes to win.
When I watched you, just obviously in the rec play when you were here, and got to play against you and got to play with you, like your ability just with the chewy. And I described to the Daily Hustle the other day when I said you were coming on. But so I switch hands, right? Which is unique, and there's not a lot of pros that do it. I think Jack Monroe's one of the only ones that does it consistently. But if you think about, if I'm going to hit a shot and I hit a forehand here, boom, I still have to put that paddle back in this hand and then come back this way. So that's probably the reason why a lot of pros don't do it. Because if you come here, like, you're already loaded for that tui. Is that am I correct on this?
Yeah, you're spot on. And I mean, and kind of coming from that baseball batting lefty, like my left hand is very dominant on that backhand. So it's almost a similar thing to you, where it's like on that left side of my body, my left hand is taking over, but I just have that hand a little higher up on the paddle and let my right hand come along for the ride. And that's one of the reasons I think my tui is so successful.
So this is crazy, but I think, and I just kind of naturally happen on certain shots, but the reason why I'm comfortable with the left hand, and I'd say I'm not comfortable with the tuis because I never hit left-handed, but why I am comfortable doing this, and I could do it, my third shot drops with my left are just as good as my right. Any sort of placement shots, the dinks, the same sort of thing. My left hand is great. But in baseball, if I'm going to catch a ball, it's all left. Right?
Okay.
I never caught a ball with my right. Always with the left.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's why I think, it's comfortable for me. And I know a couple other baseball players that have kind of messed around with it with the left hand. One of them just being my kid. He uses his left a lot as well.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I never thought of it like that too. But yeah, just being, because you're catching with your non-dominant hand, so you can throw. Yeah, so that's That's fascinating. I wonder then if some baseball players coming in would be more predisposed to like playing left-handed because of that, and then just having that kind of two hands because you're at the plate with if you're batting righty, you have both hands on the bat. So it could make more sense to be a lefty coming from baseball.
Dude, my two-handed forehand is fucking filthy, man.
I
Like
can see it.
it comes from down here. Like, yeah, I could attack from the ground. I literally could come from down here and I just go whap, and this thing will rip across. And a lot of times it shoots up in the air, and everyone just like gets out of the way of it, like whoa, and then it'll sneak back in every time. I don't use it a lot because it's kind of a weird shot, and there's not a lot of people dink into my forehand side. But yeah, that's a super comfortable angle. I mean, that's a fascinating thing, though, Connor, about the sport. There's so many different people with so many different backgrounds. The one thing that I have noticed, though, and it shouldn't be a shock to anybody, like everybody has some kind of like pretty extensive and pretty high level athletic background.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, that mindset is huge for it. And you see what's so cool and what I geek out about is just you have all these different sports, whether it's your two-handed forehand that you can hit from so low because of the baseball background and that, or whether it's like the badminton guys that kind of just like flick their wrist like this and have like absurd hand speed, or the squash players or whatever sport it is, you see all these unique things that kind of come into pickleball. And how I start all my clinics, or what I find most fascinating, is the sport's still growing so much. We're still learning. So how I hit the ball today might not be the best way. You might have a guy come in from golf and be able to have these like insane like wind up swing drops or something where they have the feel on it, or new sports. It's just so cool. And there's so much you can create and experiment with. And it does take that high level sports background to have that mentality to come into it, but everything else is still being written.
So the game for a long time, the way I understand it, has always been played soft at the highest levels, where you get to the kitchen, a lot of dinks back and forth. I'm looking here, 11.4 shots per rally in the men's doubles finals, which is a pretty big number. You look at right here, 71 of the 126 rallies were 9 shots or less, but 55 of the 126 were 10 shots or more. I mean, they had a 42-point shot rally, a 41-shot rally, and a 38-shot rally. Those are big numbers, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that just shows the game's still being played at a pretty slow pace.
Yeah, there was one rally, I think, that was over 100 in the quarters or the round of 16 where Ben and Colin played, Colin Schick and Noe Cleef. And so there's just some crazy long rallies in there. There is that. Paddle technology has advanced, allowing for a little bit more power and spin in the game, but there is so much strategy. And that's the coolest thing about doubles, is whether you're looking at how someone sits on their paddle, whether they're here, you're finding holes in their game and just outthinking. There's so much strategy. And so in those 41 shots, they're hitting this shot, being like, oh, can I go here? Oh, can I do this? And so it's this really fun, like, chess aspect to pickleball, where people, I would say, hear like a 41 shot rally and they're like, oh, okay, like that's great. They're probably just at the kitchen, like having a little laugh, drinking some coffee, chilling. But no, it's this like intense game of who's gonna miss position first, or how am I gonna get you a little uncomfortable. And so it's cool. That slow part is so integral to pickleball, and one of the reasons it's such an amazing sport.
One of the things I noticed when I played with you were how aggressive your dinks were. I mean, dude, like the two-E top spin, it's a lot coming at me, and next thing you know, I'm pushed back off the line, and you have us right where you want us. What's the key to that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge part, is knowing your opponents, what they want to take out of the air, because the more aggressive you can get the ball without them taking it out of the air and attacking it, the more you can start to impose your will. So it's starting out slow, kind of feeling it out, moving your opponents around, and then when you feel like you have that opportunity when they're stretched out wide, really being aggressive with that dink, or if you know they're not going to take it out of the air, pushing them off that line. Because I always look at it, whichever team is able to stay on the line as much as possible is going to be the ultimate team that's going to win all of those points. So being aggressive with the dinks is huge. And
Uh-oh. I think we may have lost him. Hopefully he hits a knock button here. Going back to like some of these numbers, and of course I'm going to geek out on the pickleball numbers. I couldn't believe they had 9 rallies that were 30 shots or more. So everyone's trying to say that the game of pickleball, it's changed and everything else. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't know, because I get into these higher level games and it's just you can't speed up on them. It's really, really hard to do. And if you speed up, you just got to be careful. You're back.
I'm back. We survived.
Okay, talk to me about the speed ups, because going over some of the numbers here with the speed ups, there was obviously teams that were successful, teams that weren't. It looks like the people who initiate the speed up, it's almost 50-50, dude, on who ends up winning that point. And that shocked me a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, those numbers are more and more evident as you play. Like, I would say if you look at like a first round or a second round and you're kind of one of those teams that should make a quarter, semis, or final, your speed ups are going to be effective probably 75% of the time. And then each round after that, it starts diminishing. And by the time you're in a semi, all those teams have seen those speed ups. And so, I mean, even when we played J-Dub and Dill in this tournament in San Clemente, we lost a lot of the points we were initiating just because everyone's hands are so fast. You have to be that much more methodical and that much more deceptive with it. So the speed up, when taken correctly, is very effective, but patience is becoming so much more important. And with ball technology, the new ball that just got released a tournament or two ago, the new Vulcan, is slower. So when you do speed up, the next ball is usually coming back. I guess an interesting thought there would be, of those speed ups, is that an effectiveness on that first shot? Is that a 2-shot speed up kind of combo? There's like a few other factors that you can look at with those things to be even more analytical with it. But definitely the speed up isn't as effective now as it used to be.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like if you speed up, great, but speeding up a ball you shouldn't speed up, it's just you're done. And so when I play, I'll be out here playing some players that, let's just say, they're very skilled and they're good athletes, but I'll just walk to my partner right away to, dude, just have patience. They're going to speed it up. They're going to fuck themselves.
Yeah. I mean, I think as a starting point, that's perfect. Like, patience wins more than offense. So the more you can kind of goad people into attacking, the better it's going to be. And then if you need that skill set, it's important to have, but definitely not what you want to lead with.
So what do you think the future of the game is going to be?
Future of the game, it really is dependent on paddle and ball technology, with if it's going to get faster, slower. But I mean, right now, if everything were to remain the same on paddle tech and ball tech, I would say that the future of the game is going to be more deceptive attacks. And so working on there's going to be some new shots coming into the game where people aren't going to be able to read it. Coming from a tennis background, like when I hit a forehand or a two-e, whatever it is, you can kind of track the ball with my paddle, where now there's going to be shots where at the end, there's going to be a lot of misdirection with the wrist. And so that's going to be what's going to start to be seen in the sport. And then a lot more aggressive dinking and Dinking is going to have to take the next step forward. Dinking and then slippery speed ups. Those are the two things that are going to have to evolve to kind of have people succeed and stand out versus other players.
What's a slippery speed up?
So that's where when you're attacking right at the end, you move your wrist in a way that when you're watching my paddle face, you won't exactly see where I'm hitting the ball. Like you'll see the paddle face going one way, and then a millisecond before I hit, I break my wrist in a different direction, and now it's almost like breaking someone's ankles in basketball. That will be kind of the new norm in pickleball with that.
So one of the kids that I watched play in SAC, he looked like he's 12. Hayden Patriquin.
Yes.
I mean, this guy's had some kind of run, huh?
Yeah. He's been feeling himself. He's been playing well. Just no tennis background. Definitely slippery with all that stuff. Has some very pickleball unique shots that he has. Flicks are electric. So he's on one. Confidence. He's got the shades a little bit bigger now. He's got the gold chain hanging out a little bit more now, and he's been dominating the double scene for the last couple tournaments. It's been exciting to see.
How does he do in singles?
He does well. He's had wins on, I want to say, all the top players, but hasn't had a deep run in singles yet. But definitely can get hot and has some game. His volleys, as you can see in doubles, translate really well to singles, and he's very very slippery in singles as well. So he's always a threat that you don't necessarily want to see in your draw that early.
So he played with Stackstrud?
Stackstrud in Sacramento, yeah.
In SAC, but then he was with Pablo Tellez. Why change?
Yeah, so you're usually locking in partners a while beforehand. So it's like three months out. Like I have my partners probably booked through, I want to say, September, October timeframe right now. That being said, if I'm winning a gold medal, I might just float the idea if I'm Fed and Hayden to my partners and say, hey guys, like we just won gold. Are you okay partnering up and we'll run it back? And so I think that's definitely, if you have success, you got to strike while the iron's hot, but also be like honor your word. So it's a little bit of that balance of you have to commit so far out, but if you do have success, doing it in a way where you can continue that. And I don't know, maybe if Hayden and Fed played together, maybe they would have gotten a gold this weekend. Who knows? But you definitely got to give that a shot.
We have our next question in the chat from Leslie. Thanks for chiming in. She says, what type of cross training do you do?
Cross training, I'm starting to get back after it. I would say that it's like the crazy thing about pickleball is it's not like another sport like a baseball or a basketball or even a tennis where you have set routines already in place with coaches, with the gym, all that. So I haven't done a ton of that as of like for a while, but now I'm starting to lean into, I'll do an hour of gym, just kind of working on the big muscle groups for pickleball, which are shoulders, back, wrists, legs, of course. And then I'll do I love ice baths. I'll get after it. I've done one a day for the last couple of days. Anytime there's an ice bath around, I'll try and get after it. Just, I think mentally, physically, that's huge. And then active recovery with stretching is also very important.
So there's I don't know, it's called a meme going around. It's not a meme. It's an actual video of a guy in like a Gold's Gym, and he's got the paddle hooked up to one of the cable machines, and he's like, and somebody posted it, made some sarcastic response like, bro, it's pickleball. Mm-hmm. And I saw that, and my immediate thought was, bro, yeah, it's fucking pickleball, and right on, dude. I'd be doing the same thing.
Yeah, that's epic. Heck yeah. Yeah, I mean, all of that stuff. It's like whatever you can do to give yourself an edge, the edge from fitness, from the gym, like from the mental side of an ice bath, like you're fighting now for those small percentages. It's like do everything that you can so that when you're out on the court, that Kobe mentality where it's like, I've done everything I can, so now I'm just going to go out and freaking win.
So one of the things that I do actually with our 12U team is we go pickleball BP. So I'll get about, I don't go full distance, right? It's not like I'm going 60 feet, 50, 60 feet away, but I'll get to about 30 feet, whack, whack. And the idea is to get them that nice, good downhill angle, and then they're swinging baseball bats. I love the translation, man. It's so cool. But the reaction time that you pros deal with at the net, I mean, that's got to be upwards of like 150 miles per hour.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's kind of funny. I went and did a little bit of cross training at one tournament after I lost, and I was in a batting cage just to get used to some of the fastness of a baseball. But yeah, that hand speed, whether it's doing like light training, all of that quick twitch, like you're just seeing the ball and it's just like bang bang, and you're just having to be so reactionary up there and just out hand speed your opponents.
All right. So Leslie says here, since it seems like most people want to play and not watch, do you see that changing so more sponsors will come on board?
Yeah, I mean, I would say at the tournaments now, you have most people playing and then they'll come and watch the pros, but their main reason they're at the tournament is to compete themselves, and you get a little bit of ancillary benefit with them watching. I would say getting pickleball as a college sport where there's scholarship money there, and then just the junior programs being built out, that's where you see a lot of eyeballs from tennis. It's the parents that love their kids and are spending a ton of money on them to play tennis that is where the eyeballs are coming from. And that's going to be a huge thing for pickleball to continue to grow, are those two kind of key aspects.
I really enjoy watching now. I know you've had the conversation. You say you don't watch a ton of pickleball, but you do. It's kind of like baseball, right? Like I wasn't like sitting down to watch a baseball game when I played, but I would study the film and I would have an idea of, right, I was going to look at the starting pitcher and see what he had. And so, I wasn't watching for the pure enjoyment. I was watching from, a much different perspective. When it comes to that, how much scouting do you do when you're going to play these guys?
Yeah. I mean, especially later rounds, I kind of have the approach of like, if you're going in to win a tournament and you have to scout out your first two rounds, like you got to make them play your game. And then as you get to those fine margins in a semifinal, doing a ton of scouting, like having a game plan, having a plan A, a plan B is so key. And I would say in those early rounds, still, like I'll still watch film, but it's more just to kind of mentally feel their game. Like I think it's huge to go into anything with preparation. And the more you can kind of just feel and visualize how they're playing, it's just going to help you tremendously and start to give you an edge over them.
Can you explain to our casual pickleball fans the difference between PPA, APP, and MLP?
Yeah, so PPA is like tournaments. There's probably like 25 events throughout the year, all across the country. They have a huge production. They kill it. Those are the ones that I'll mainly play. And then the APP is similar. They have a similar product. It's a little bit smaller. Just if you look at the pros they have, they typically don't do as well when they come over to the PPA, but still a solid tour. They just are kind of, not the PPA. And then MLP is the team events where all the PPA players will come over and play in different teams of four, play gender doubles and mixed doubles. And it's really a great fan experience. There's a lot of energy behind it. So I love playing the PPA and MLP, and that's really kind of the big giants in the room for pickleball. And then those guys have been crushing it.
MLP it's city oriented, right? Like you play for a Las Vegas team or San Francisco or whatever. Is that correct?
Yeah. So you play under a team name. It's a little bit of a misnomer because the players aren't from that specific place. Sometimes teams will bring in players that are all from that location just to have a little bit stronger tie. But I definitely think it's cool. And as the sport grows, I think that's the intent. And, I love it. Having a little bit of like, I don't know, city rivalry is awesome for the sport. And the more you can kind of make those team events fun and engaging, the better it is. And there was a huge facility built in Utah for the Black Diamonds to have their pros go and practice there. So there's definitely an intent there, but it's still early stages for sure.
Top 3 pieces of advice that you would give to a beginning pickleball player.
Yeah, top 3, I would say biggest thing is not trying to rush anything on the court. It's let the ball come onto your paddle versus trying to go out and get it. That's huge. I would say everyone gets excited to hit the living crap out of the ball, but it's really playing within yourself is huge. So that's the biggest one. Then I would say the second one is staying true to your game. Everyone comes in with a different kind of mindset. I came in loving my backhand. A lot of people told me I couldn't speed up from there, or I couldn't hit it from there. And I just kind of kept doing it, obviously modified it to some extent, but playing my style of game is super important. And I would say don't let other people define your play style. And then third, have fun out there. The more you can have fun, the more you're going to learn. And it's such a new sport that every day you're learning, and you can really understand the game and have your own kind of strategy with it. And that's one of the coolest things about pickleball.
3 pieces of advice you would give to an advanced player that's not a professional. Let's just say 4.0 to 5.0s and beyond.
Yeah, first piece of advice would be handling the big moments the same as shot at 2-all. Being able to handle that is huge. I would say that's a big difference, even between some of the lower level pros and the top level pros. And I mean, I'm guilty of messing that up just as much as the next guy. But I would say when I've had my successes, it's you can see that I've done that. And when you see other people succeeding, they do that as well. So that's piece number 1. Then second piece is being aggressive with the dinking. Like that's where you can start to get the separation, is really attacking at the net, using that strategy to speed up and be kind of deceptive up there. And third is become a student of the game. Like you just got to start thinking, learning, and just kind of mastering all these different shots and have ideas. It's easy to come in there and just try and play like straight up pickleball, but having that extra thought process of being aware of where someone is sliding, being aware of the openings on the court is huge as well.
So one of the things that you taught me when you were here, when I'm on the left side and even the right side, is the slide. And
Yes.
the best way to explain it to pickleball players out there that are more my level is if I'm on the left side of the court and that's my forehand, basically I can slide. If the ball's hit, be ready to slide this way, because if the ball's hit to my left, most likely that's going to be out.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah,
So I have to
exactly.
slide here, and then with my long ass arms, still cover a lot.
Yeah, pickleball court's so small, so it's like, yeah, exactly to your point. It's like you slide a little bit, you set up your shot that you like, and so it's always that 2-shot combo is kind of like tagging on to that. It's like you speed up and then you slide, so now all of a sudden you get your favorite shot, and then once that forehand is right there, you get to say night night and just blow that ball out of the water, and it's game over.
It's so then on the other side, to explain it, where you're over here, you almost could do the same sort of thing, sliding to the backhand, being ready to do this, so you're not getting caught with the chicken
Yeah,
wing.
exactly. And a key point to note there is if you are sliding like that and you're on the right side and you're sliding backhand, you're only going to slide that way if the ball is hit to the person in front of you. So then the left side player can slide middle, and really you're sliding to give them the opening cross court, because the only way they can hit it cross court is slowly, and then you're covering the 2 spots that they can speed up, and that's why the slide is so effective, because you have both your shots there locked and loaded, ready to attack if they do fire it at you.
Dude, this is fantastic, man. I could do this for literally, we could do this six straight hours. I think I could probably go longer than that. All right. For the sake of to be respectful for your time, let's finish up with, I want to do like a word association thing.
Let's do it.
where basically, like, I'm going to say a word or a person and give me a one-word response as to, I don't know, that describes or, it would best encapsulate the word that I'm going to give you.
All right, I like it.
All right, let's try it. Dinks.
Methodical.
Anna Lee Waters.
Champion.
Ben Johns.
Goat.
Offensive lobs.
Unique.
MLP.
Electric.
APP.
Dated.
PPA.
Gold standard.
TUI Nation.
Epic.
Awesome, dude. I mean, this is so good. You got to come on here more. I mean, I'll come on and break down like the weekend that was and after all the PPA events. I mean, you could run this shit on your own, but I'll throw you some layups, man. I could, like, this pickleball thing is, after these weekends, the one thing about the PPA, we've talked about it a little bit. It's just, the fascination of, getting the best players in the world. And again, like, having them play with these amateurs. And typically they all seem like really big events, right?
Yeah.
In triathlon, I would describe it. I've never played a pickleball tournament until my first tournament was that PPA event in Sac. I'm like, look, when I started racing triathlon and you start with some like really small local tries and you kind of work your way up. And eventually I did an Ironman. And when I did an Ironman, I'm like, I don't ever want to go back. Like, that was it. Like, that was a fucking gold standard. That was the best of the best.
Mm-hmm.
And I did a little research and I'm like, the PPA kind of seems like the gold standard. Like, I might as well just throw myself into the fire and start there. But I mean, what a terrific event that they ran in Sac, and I look forward to playing the next one.
Heck yeah. Yeah, no, they're awesome, and they definitely bring the energy, and just being able to be there with all the fans watching in those center courts is so much fun.
Any final words you got for any of the people out there? Anything else you want to get off your chest before we let you go here?
No, I think just get out there on a pickleball court. That's the coolest thing about pickle is the barrier to entry is so low. So that's one of the reasons it's been taken off is you can go out there and have some fun no matter your background with sports. So it's awesome, and it's just cool to be a part of the pickleball landscape.
Where do we get the gear, the TUI Nation gear? And how often are you doing the clinics?
Yeah, so all my gear, TUI Nation stuff is on my website, connorgarnett.com. I'll do clinics probably once a month, sometimes more, just around all the tour stops. So if you are around one of the PPA tournaments, or you can just check my website. I also have a newsletter on my website that you can sign up for to stay up to date on the clinics. But I'll do those a decent amount of the time, and then just everything else is more just having fun competing. I'll throw out some instructional videos on YouTube as well. I think Connor Garnett Pickleball. And so if you're really trying to study the game, that I break down my two-handed backhand in depth there. I have a lot of other strategic thoughts as well. So get involved. That's a great way to learn the game, and just keep at it and maybe join the TUI Nation.
I love it. Real quick, dude, I forgot our title sponsor, Bet Online. It's your number one source for all of your sports betting needs this season, from baseball, golf, soccer, right to the top of the MMA and UFC fights, boxing, you name it. You can probably bet on fucking pickleball too. Every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. When the game's over, head over to our online casino for all the degenerates out there and get in on the game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Use the promo code BLEAV, capital BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit up to $250. Bet Online, where the game starts. Dude, I mean, there's got to be some betting action on pickleball, isn't there?
There is. I don't know if it's still going strong right now, but they have launched pickleball betting, and it's definitely a huge market. So I think it's definitely you're going to see it on all these major betting portals.
Do you know Mish McMahon,
Yes.
Michelle?
Yeah.
I worked with her at MLB Network.
Oh, no way. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, she's awesome.
she's great. I saw her at the tourney in Sac for a minute. We were going to try to get together, but she's just super, super cool. And it's funny because she told me how she got the job. I'm like, how did you ever run into this? She's like, COVID hit, basically lost everything, right? Like just live TV pretty much didn't exist anymore. And she goes, I was playing a bunch of pickleball, and then all of a sudden pickleball kind of became a thing. And I reached out to the tennis network who was doing pickleball, and they're like, yeah, you're hired.
Heck yeah. Yeah, no, that's awesome. She's been doing a lot of the events now, and she's been crushing it. So that's a small world for sure.
Yeah, tell her I say what's up when you see her at the next event. Connor, good shit, man. I really appreciate it and love to get you back on here soon.
Yeah, no, would love to. Thanks for having me, and I'm excited to do a few more when we have time. So heck yeah, that was fun.
Whenever, man. And I'm going to send you off in fashion that we send everybody else off here at No Filter Network, all of our guests, because we love them so much. It's a very simple see ya.